Note, hey y'all, I finally decided to execute my story. Anyway, more chapters are available on Royal Road if you are interested. Enjoy. Blurb. For centuries, the Allegria Empire has been ruled by an unbroken bloodline with power stolen from the Yi. Gods. Every year a ritual is upheld, one sacrificed soul from another world to ensure the gods stay repressed, thus the Empire's control remain absolute. But this time, something goes wrong. The summoned girl survives and has no idea why she is summoned in the first place. As the ritual fails, gods are slowly coming back and people within the Empire get their minds freed from the Emperor's grasp. Some wish to stay loyal, others seek to liberate themselves. But then, there are those who are not strong enough to defy the will of either side, torn apart in the process. As forgotten deities reclaim their dominion and the Empire crumble, no one can escape the coming storm. At its center is the girl, a stranger in a world where she is meant to die, still searching for her place in a world on the brink of chaos. What to expect? Isekai and waifu. Just don't expect any lolly-looking individuals. Multiple third-person deep POVs exploring different lives across a crumbling empire. Action. Duh. Strong interpersonal relationship development. Alliances. Betrayals. Found families. Multiple sentient races. Chapter 1. Zoe, Yuno, and Other Catastrophes. Public School, 12, Earth. The bell shrieked, sharp and sudden. Zoe flinched. It wasn't supposed to ring at this time. She put her pen down and looked around. The other students responded the same way, confused, unsure what had just happened. Behind her, Alta groaned and stretched like a cat who'd overslept through every class. Finally. We get to go home early again. It's been ages, he said between yawns. Right, ages. He hadn't been conscious for more than 20 minutes total, and somehow he was the first one to realize this meant they were going home early. Keela, across from Zoe, slammed her books into her bag like they'd betrayed her. Ugh, really? After I worked all night long on that assignment? Now we go home early? Zoe bit her lip to hold back a smile as she put her history book into her backpack. Alhamdulillah, I didn't finish Mr. Bakhtiar's assignment anyway. Ha ha! Alta's voice cut in with that smug little edge he always had when he didn't do something. Keela glared at him as though she was ready to slap him. Whatever, she cut her eyes toward Zoe. Hey Zoe, want to go to Pak Ahmed's stall? Out front later? No point heading home yet, right? Zoe checked her watch. 10:30. That felt illegal. Too early. Sure, but you gotta take me home after. I'll take you home, Alta said way too fast. Zoe didn't even have to look up to know Keela's eye roll could have spun her skull. As if. Who even invited you? Keela snapped. Just come with me, Zoe. Going home with him is sketchy. He's probably got an agenda. Zoe coughed into her sleeve to hide the laugh. Yeah, Keela. I'll just go with you. Alta's kinda sus. Alta groaned, slinging his empty-looking bag back. Playing it cool, huh? Fine. Still going to the stall. Might call the guys. Card game sounds good. The class emptied. Zoe walked out with Keela. Alta followed, mumbling something about the newest series that he watched. Pak Ahmad's food stall. Zoe elbowed past a swinging backpack, ducked under a tray of noodles, and dropped into the last seat before someone else could claim it. Her knee smacked the table leg. She didn't care. She got the spot near her friends. That was what mattered. The rusted steel roof above her clattered with every gust. The air reeked of fried oil and reheated broth. She didn't breathe too deep. Her friends were already engaged in an Uno card game. She put her spicy and crunchy basring on the table, offering some tequila next to her. One round later, she got into the game as well. The rule was simple. The loser of the round would be punished. Their fingers must be tightly wrapped in rubber bands. Confident in her ability, she took her card in and played along. 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds. She kept losing all 3 of them back to back to back. Across from Zoe, Alta tried not to smirk as he and Zoe were the last remaining players in that round. He could have won a while ago, but he waited till the end to duel her. Keela nudged her side, eyes sparkling with hope. Okay, wipe that smug look off his face. Zoe didn't answer. 3 fingers wrapped in rubber bands, her left thumb throbbing. Her pride? Already in the grave, but her cards look good. This time she should be able to win easily. She played her cards, a green skip, then a blue skip. Then, smirk locked in, she slapped down a blue +2. Alta blinked, then grinned like he'd just been fed. He dropped 2 +4s of his own. Uno game. Alta smacked his last card down like it was divine punishment and leapt up with both fists in the air. Ha! Time for another rubber band. Zoe stared at her hand, her real hand, then the cards. No way. Forget it, she grumbled, rubbing her sore fingers. I'm done. Alta tapped the deck, still laughing uncontrollably. Come on, one more? You'll bounce back, right? Zoe gave her a flat look. Shut up, Alta. You did that. On purpose, didn't you? His laugh simmered down, gathering the deck. At least he didn't push. Just shuffled slowly, whistling some nonsense tune. Zoe sighed and peeled the rubber bands off her fingers. Keela slid the last one off for her, gentle, like Zoe's fingers might crack if she wasn't careful. She bailed before Alta could gloat again, beelining for the stall. Buena vida, guava flavor. The only thing cold enough to fix the sting in her fingers and the bruised ego underneath. The vendor handed it over, dripping with condensation. She cracked the cap, took a long sip. To her left, boys' voices, loud ones. Dude, look at this! Brandon Swanson case. One of them wore a one-piece hoodie, red and loud, glasses slipping down his nose. He held up his phone like it was sacred. Drove home after a party, called his dad when his car went into a ditch. Then, just vanished, like they never found him. Zoe paused mid-sip. Her ears stayed locked in. She got weirdly invested in the discussion. Maybe it was due to their passion and enthusiasm. Another boy leaned closer to the screen. Crazy. The boy's voice jumped, up and down like this was a horror podcast. Zoe blinked hard, pulling herself back just as Keela nudged her arm. Sorry. Gotta take a call, she said, already stepping away. Zoe grabbed the chocolate bars and juice boxes off the table, sticky plastic against her palms. She took them back to the bench without saying much. The boys on her table stood. Alta tossed his empty bottle into the trash and missed. He didn't care. Me and the boys are heading to the court, he said, already half-turned. Sorry about the game just now. We good, right? Zoe nodded, though she was still upset at him. We're good. Alta flashed a peace sign, jogged off with the others, and Zoe waved back reluctantly. Keela's call dragged. Arms flying, face sharp. That was her dad on the other end. Had to be. Same way she always argued with him, like it was a game she was sick of playing but couldn't stop. Well, they fight all the time. I'll just have to listen to her rant again. She'll cool off. Sunlight burned through the rusted roofing. Her back stuck to the plastic seat. Zoe flipped her phone open, closed it, open, refresh. She was getting bored. Keela came back. Her face was pale. She put her glasses back on and took a sip of her drink. And, Zoe, I have to move. Zoe blinked. Huh? Like, move houses? Keela didn't answer. 3 days later, Galombang Sinta Cafe. Keela's words hadn't stopped playing in Zoe's head. Zoe sat at the edge of the counter, thumb dragging through the chat. Line after line, jokes, rants, dumb in-jokes. Too familiar. Too far away now, I can't believe it. She's really leaving. Keela's recent texts tried too hard. Smiley faces and fake energy. Zoe didn't touch the topic at all. She only sent memes and talked about everything else, but whatever they had, this friendship, it was slipping. She hovered her fingers on her phone, typing, "Please don't leave Key. You're the..." Of course she wasn't about to send it. With a sigh, she deleted the message. Huh, must be nice playing on your phone during work. Zoe jolted. One of her co-workers, Intan, breezed past with 2 trays stacked like Tetris. Hurry up and help out. A lot of people are waiting for their orders. Heh. Sorry, Intan. She almost forgot the rule not to use one's phone during shift. She shot up and headed for the tables. She helped her tables and others where the servers had too much on their plate. Until a shift in energy snapped her out of it. That bald head, there was no mistake. Crap, it's that annoying food reviewer. 2. Guys flanked him with their phones recording him as he entered the cafe. With no senior staff around, Zoe had no choice but to greet him herself. She took a breath, straightened up, and did her best to sound professional. Welcome, smooth. Smile locked, words clean. The bald man took a seat and ordered everything normally. Zoe slipped into the kitchen, voice low. Code bald, season, everything. Make it pretty. Big portions. The team moved like it was war. Dishes came out fast, neat, hot. He took bites, nodded. Things looked okay until he noticed it. Zoe wasn't in uniform. Unlike the other servers, she wore a plain shirt and jeans. He raised an eyebrow and made a show of it on camera, complaining like it was some unforgivable sin. Zoe silenced, caught off guard. Now? Panicked, she fumbled to silence it without even checking who was calling. The food reviewer, already in performance mode, took this as fuel. He escalated the situation, pointing to the phone incident like it confirmed his narrative. His voice rose just enough to start turning heads, and soon, other customers were glancing over, distracted by the drama. Just as Zoe felt like melting into the floor, Intan stepped, in like a boss. She apologized calmly and offered compensation. He, smug as ever, agreed, but only if all his food was comped. Intan hesitated for a moment, clearly weighing the cost. Then nodded. He left with free food and more content for his followers. And Zoe? She just wanted to disappear into the dish rack. On the way home. Intan had offered to drive her home, and now they sat in silence as the sleek BMW M4 cruised through. The city streets. She sat stiff in the passenger seat. One hand curled around the seatbelt, the other on her lap, thumb pressed hard into the fabric of her jeans. No music played, just engine and road. Tear tracks clung to her cheeks. She didn't bother wiping them. Let them dry. Her manager hadn't even bothered to hear her side. He just saw the viral clip and snapped. The uniform thing had never been a real issue until today. Now it was everything. He threatened to fire her if it ever happened again. Intan tried to lighten the mood, cracking a few jokes and reassuring her that that bald reviewer was always a drama magnet. It helped. A little. Zoe leaned her, head against the window. Cold. Her breath left a cloud. She didn't wipe that. She pulled out her phone for the first time since the incident. Her inbox was flooded with texts from Alta, meme after meme, completely unnecessary. Yet, she laughed. Despite everything, what's so funny? Intan glanced over, trying her best to engage with her upset junior. Zoe angled her screen slightly. It's Alta. He keeps sending me memes. What a weirdo. Oh, he might be into you. No way. He has too many girlfriends, you know? He would flirt with a vending machine if it had boobs. Yeah? That boy with beat-up Honda? Intan smirked. Gotta hand it to him. Confidence really is a cheat code. Zoe laughed with her. Still, she wasn't about to roast Alta's ride. After all, he was the one who gave her lifts when Keela wasn't around. The car slowed at a red light. Intan drummed her fingers on the steering wheel. So? She asked. What's the plan after high school? College or full-time work? Zoe exhaled, looked out the window again. A noodle cart passed, steam rising off the pot. I don't know. Even if I wanted to go to college, I'd have to retake the entrance tests. My grades suck. It's hard to get a scholarship when you're not poor enough or smart enough. Haha. True, though. It's tough when your life story isn't tragic enough to be inspiring. Intan shot her a grin. But for now, just focus on school. We'll figure it out later. She swallowed. Thanks, Cock. You've been really good to me. Oh, stop it. You sound like you're giving a farewell speech. They pulled into her neighborhood. The chipped green gate of her apartment still hadn't been painted over. She unbuckled her seatbelt, but didn't open the door yet. Want to come in for a bit? Zoe offered. I'd better not. The others are waiting. Intan pulled out a cigarette and slipped it between her lips. Now, get out. Zoe nodded and exited quickly. Right. Oh, and no shifts for me tomorrow. I'll drive you to school. She lit the cigarette and took a drag. No, it's fine, Cock. I can grab a ride. Don't be silly. See you in the morning. The car rolled away before Zoe could argue again. She stood in the street, arms wrapped around herself, even though the air wasn't cold. Why does someone with a car this nice end up working at a cafe anyway? The taillights faded. Only then did she pull out her keys. Zoe collapsed into her chair and unlocked her phone. One last scroll before math homework. At the top of her notifications, a missed call. Rejected earlier without thinking. Auntie. One missed call, several messages. Sorry to bother, Zoe. How's my favorite girl doing? We just got to Lombok and it's gorgeous here. You should come next time, maybe after you graduate. She typed out a reply. Sorry, Auntie. I was window shopping with my friends and rejected the call by mistake. Love you? Yeah, that covered it. She'd call tomorrow. No point telling her the allowance barely covered rent, let alone school stuff. Side jobs were the only reason she wasn't drowning. She closed the chat and opened her math book. The desk. Lamp threw light across old receipts and tangled earphones. Statistics. The numbers blurred together. She tapped her pen against the page, once, twice, 3 times. She reread the same question again. Still made no sense. She exhaled through her nose, dropped the pen, swiped back to her browser and typed in frequency distribution tutorial. Notification popped up. A new Let's Play video of the new anticipated game Elden Ring from her favorite YouTuber. The thumbnail alone had her smirking. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. She propped the phone against her phone charger, leaned in, eyes glued. Seconds slipped into minutes. Her breathing slowed. Muscles unclenched. Her chin slipped. Her head jerked up. I fell asleep? Fuck my math homework. The screen was still playing, casting faint light in the darkened room. She wiped her face, realizing a few strands of her blonde hair had slipped into her mouth. Then, a glow slowly formed above her. Bright, growing, expanding. Zoe's breath hitched. She tried to move, but her body wouldn't budge. What the hell is that? Ah! The room exploded in white, and Zoe was gone. Cold Spring Village, Northern Province. Let's see. Something ain't right. Finn frowned, twisting the newly forged vambrace in his hands. He put his hammer aside as he wiped sweat from his forehead. He had started this side project for months in the hope that one day he could wear the full armor set fully made by him. Finn, will you deliver those damn spears already? And can. You stop playing with that garbage for God's sake. His father's voice cut through Finn's focus like a sharp blade. He sighed and set down the vambrace he had been adjusting. He knew better than to argue. Yes, sir. I'll get right on it, he called back. His father's grumbling from the forge continued as Finn wiped the soot off his hands. He knew the routine well, any delay, and he'd get another 2-hour lecture about responsibility and time management. Heimed Thorne was not Finn's biological father, and he never protected Finn from that fact. Still, he taught Finn everything he needed to know about smithing, as he would if he had his own son. So I need to send these 10 spears to Chief Sigrid and collect the payment of 5 gold and 20 silvers, Finn asked, hoping to reassure. His father only grunted in reply. That was close enough to approval. Finn pulled on his thick wool-lined coat and fastened his dark fur cloak over his shoulders. The cold winds bit through anything lighter, so he wrapped a scarf around his neck before stepping outside. His breath curled in the air like smoke as he loaded the spears onto a small sled attached to his horse. As he climbed onto the sled, he gave his horse Hilda a pat on the neck. "Let's get this done quick, girl," he muttered. The ride to Chief Sigrid's hall was short but bumpy. Unlike the larger cities, Cold Spring had no paved roads, just packed dirt and snow-covered trails. The nomadic village, for now, had stopped on the available open spaces near the Clintstone mine. Tents, lodges, and wooden wagons were set up around the cave opening. At the largest wooden structure in the village, Chief Sigrid's lodge, 2 guards stood outside, wrapped in heavy cloaks. When Finn approached, one of them raised a hand in greeting. "I'm here to deliver the order," Finn said. "Heimed Smiths." One guard nodded and helped him unload the crate, while the other opened the door and gestured inside. The warmth of the hall hit Finn immediately. A large fire burned in the center, its flames flickering against the wooden walls. Chief Sigrid sat at a long table, his small frame wrapped in a thick, white-furred cloak. His hair was gray, his beard well-groomed, and his ever-present smile made him seem younger than his years. "Finn, how's the old man? Still swinging that hammer like he's 20? Finn chuckled. "Yeah, you know him." Sigrid laughed, his voice deep and warm. "That stubborn fool. Come, sit. Warm yourself." They quickly completed the transaction, and Chief Sigrid handed him 7 gold, definitely more than he expected. Chief, you gave me extra?" Finn pointed out. "Consider it a little thanks for your father's good work," Sigrid said with a knowing smile. Finn nodded and pocketed the coins. As he stepped outside, he wondered what to do next. The village was quiet, aside from the usual sounds of traders and miners. Not many people needed a blacksmith in a place like this. Most requests were for repairing tools or shoeing horses. Maybe I could go fishing with Dad. It's been a while. His thought abruptly stopped as he looked at the sign of Lars's Tavern, swaying slightly in the cold wind. Right. This is it. As Finn stepped into the tavern, the warm scent of roasted meat and spiced ale hit him, along with the tail end of a heated exchange near the hearth. "That old bastard flunked my shift," growled a Lupin, a dog-like sapiens with mottled black and white fur and a permanent scowl. "Now I'm stuck pulling night watch till morning. Fucking bullshit, I didn't do anything wrong. His nephew's just a soft-eared pup who couldn't handle real work." Across from him, a Felian, orange fur with creamy undertones, snorted into his mug. "Or maybe he just didn't like your dog face." Laughter rippled through the room. Tankards were raised, a few tails flicked in amusement. The Lupin's ears pinned back, eyes narrowing. "Careful, Whiskers. Keep flapping that tongue and I'll rip it out and serve it on toast." The Felian bared his teeth in a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Any time, mutt." The tension was thick, but no one moved to break it. "Lars, 1 tankard of honey mead, please," Finn called out as he approached the counter. Coming right up, the barkeep grunted without looking. From behind him, the Felian raised his mug with a grin. "Forget that sweet stuff. Be a man. And drink some potato spirit, boy. And don't forget," he added, pointing a clawed finger at Finn. "You owe me big time." The Lupin and a few others closed in, dragging over stools and dice cups. Finn muttered, non-committal. "The dice!" the Felian shouted. "Time to avenge my loss from last week." The table erupted in laughter and jeers as they clattered together their makeshift gaming setup. Lars handed Finn his drink just in time. Finn took a sip, letting the warmth settle in his chest. "Sure," he said, smirking. "I'll take your coin again. Just let me know if you need to borrow some to feed your pup when you lose." "You prick," the Felian barked, but even he was laughing. The game commenced with gusto. Wooden dice rattled across the tabletop, coins clinked, and insults flew like snow in a blizzard. But luck wasn't on Finn's side tonight. He lost round after round, watching his bonus from Chief Sigrid dwindle into nothing. The Felian leaned in with a grin sharp as his teeth. "Get ready to get ass whooping from your dad, Finn. I'm taking all your money today." More laughter erupted around the table. By the 12th round, the winds of fortune finally began to shift. His roll was solid, high numbers, just enough to take the pot. Then, brack. The tavern door slammed open with a gust of icy wind, and every head turned. Gunnar, his best friend and neighbor, stood in the doorway, chest heaving, ears twitching, eyes wild. "Finn," he called, his voice tight. "We need to go, now." Finn frowned, setting down the dice. "What's the rush? Sit. Have a drink first." "No," Gunnar said, voice low. "It's your father." The room seemed to shrink. A pit formed in Finn's stomach. Something in... His tone sent a chill through Finn's spine, one that had nothing to do with the cold. Without another word, he stood and followed Gunnar outside. When they reached his house, Finn saw a crowd gathered outside. He pushed through the people and rushed inside, past worried faces, past murmurs. The old blacksmith's hands, scarred and soot-stained, were folded neatly across his chest. "I'm sorry, Finn," someone whispered. A lump formed in Finn's throat. No. He was fine when I left." A shaking hand touched his father's chest. "Cold. Too cold." "Master Thorn has passed," a voice said. The words hit him like a hammer. For a moment, Finn just stared. His mind refused to accept it. His father, Heimed Thorn, who had raised him, who had been there through everything, was gone. His breath hitched, his chest tightened, but no tears came. Finn sat alone in the work chamber, staring at the forge. His father's tools were still in place, untouched. The silence felt unbearable. The funeral had been held under the great oak tree near the village, where many had gathered to say their final goodbyes. The priest led the ceremony, Chief Sigrid, gave a eulogy. The people offered their respects. But Finn? He said nothing. Even now, he hadn't cried. That night, as he lay awake, the weight of it all settled in. He remembered his father, sitting by the forge just days ago, muttering about warped steel and wasted coal. He let out a small chuckle at the irony. His father had always been there for him, but in his final moments, Finn had been drinking at the tavern. Then tears did come. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have been there." 3 days later, Finn finally left the house carrying his father's favorite fishing pole. "Going fishing?" Gunnar asked, stepping out of his own lodge. Finn forced a smile. "Yeah, could use some fresh air." Snow crunched beneath his boots as he made his way past the village, through open fields and quiet pine groves toward the semi-frozen river. The wind bit at his cheeks. He passed a few older fishing holes, most now sealed over with a thin crust of ice. He picked a spot, near a tree where he could lean against the bark while casting his line. Kneeling, Finn chipped away at the ice with a small pickaxe. Once the hole was wide enough, he baited the hook with a mix of bread and dried fish, then lowered the line into the cold, dark water. Time passed. His fingers went numb. He thought of his father, the times they'd sat in silence like this, watching, the ripples. "You need to be patient," Finn muttered, mimicking Heim's gruff tone. A small tug. His heart skipped. He yanked, too fast. The line came up empty. "Damn it," he breathed. Another hour passed. Finally, he caught a small fish, just big enough to keep. Finn smiled faintly. "See that, Dad?" he whispered. "I'm not that bad." The sun began dipping behind the jagged peaks, the air sharpening with evening frost. Then, the ground trembled. At first, it was subtle. Just a vibration beneath his boots, like distant thunder rolling beneath the ice. Then, a deeper, shuddering quake. The river groaned, hairline fractures spidered across the surface. racing outward like veins of shattered glass. An earthquake? Finn's breath caught. He held still, pole clenched in his hand. Then, light from the sky. A ring of searing white ignited above him, carving through the clouds in a perfect circle. Too bright, too clean, too unnatural. Snow hissed into steam around. The ice at his feet began to sweat. Finn stumbled backward, shielding his eyes. His shadow stretched across the river, swallowed by the growing radiance. The light exploded, a blinding pulse. A deafening, all-consuming roar. Chapter 3. Zoe. Sword Guy and the hardest bred ever Satana River, just outside Cold Spring Village, Northern Province. The light brought Zoe down. Slowly, she stood up, holding her head in confusion. She wasn't in her bedroom. She wasn't in her apartment. She wasn't even in her neighborhood. What the? Zoe shot up, heart racing. Cold air bit at her skin, sending a violent shiver through her body. The wind howled, rustling the tall trees surrounding her. Her breath came out in shaky, misty puffs. She hugged herself. Why is it so cold? And why am I outside? Have I passed out somewhere? No, that didn't make sense. She glanced down. Blue denim pants and a black t-shirt. The same clothes she had been wearing before. Before what? Think. She had been doing her math homework when a notification popped up. Did I fall asleep after? And then there was that strange light. It had swallowed her whole to nothing. A blank space, like her brain just skipped forward in time. Her brain scrambled. This wasn't right. The ground beneath her was damp, covered, in patches of grass and frost. The air smelled sharp and earthy, different from the humid city air of home. It was quiet, unnervingly so, aside from the wind and the distant creaking of tree branches. Her legs felt unsteady as she took a step, forward, glancing around. The darkness stretched in every direction. No streetlights, no buildings, no sign of any roads. Just some very big trees around. This isn't a dream. Is it? Where am I? She rubbed her arms, trying to warm herself. She needed to figure this out. Maybe she had been kidnapped and dumped here. But if that were true, where were her kidnappers? Wouldn't there be something? A car, a bag over her head, restraints? The silence gnawed at her. Then, a shape in the grass caught her eye. A body. Her breath skipped. A few steps away, someone lay motionless on the ground. Zoe's first instinct was to run, but her feet wouldn't move. The person wasn't dressed. Normally, his clothes looked old-fashioned, like something out of a historical drama. A long coat, dark layers, thick boots. A sword hung at his waist. Zoe swallowed hard. Who carries a sword around? Is he an actor? Is this a set? She took a hesitant step closer, pulse hammering in her ears. Hey, are you alive? No response. Why did I even ask that? A sharp gust of wind blew past, making her hug herself tighter. The cold was unbearable, but that wasn't the worst part. The ground was uneven, torn apart. Only now did she notice the deep cracks in the earth, the uprooted trees, the way the soil had shifted as if something huge had shaken this place not long ago. But that still didn't explain why she was here. She looked back at the unconscious man. If he woke up, would he attack her, or did he have the answer she needed? Zoe hesitated, then took a deep breath. She had to know. She knelt and reached out, shaking his shoulder. Hey, wake up! The man stirred. His fingers twitched. Then, with a sharp inhale, his eyes fluttered open. Zoe yanked her hand back. The man groaned, his gaze unfocused as he slowly pushed himself upright. His breathing was uneven. He reached for his head, rubbing his temple before blinking up at her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, at last, he spoke. Percent of gold, ban, percent bo, percent do, 09? Zoe's mind went blank. What? Sorry? What did you just say? She stammered, her voice higher than intended. The boy frowned, trying again. 7% and percent on? Still. Gibberish. Well, this was disappointing. She had been hoping, praying for some kind of explanation. But whatever he was saying, she didn't understand a single word. This can't be happening. She crouched, running a hand through her hair. A guy with a sword. Dark forest. And he spoke. Whatever that was. He stepped closer. No. No, no, no. Zoe immediately took a step back. Don't, just stay right there, she warned, raising her hands. He hesitated but didn't stop. His brows furrowed, his hands gesturing nonstop. Is he trying to ask me to follow him? But Zoe was not in the mood to trust him. No, stay back. He reached out. A surge of energy erupted from her palms. Bright, blue light. The man was launched, backward, crashing into the dirt several meters away. Zoe's breath caught in her throat. Her hands, they were glowing. What? What the hell was that? She shouted, gasping, staring at her fingers. Her heart raced. A shiver ran down her spine. Not from the cold, but from the realization. No way on earth did I just shoot laser from my hands. The boy groaned as he sat up, his face twisting in pain. Zoe panicked, remembering that she had just knocked out a person. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. She pressed her palms together, bowing slightly as she repeated the apology. He gave her a small nod and smiled. He turned around and started picking up his scattered belongings, some tools, a bag, a small lantern. After rummaging through his things, he pulled out the lantern and lit it. A warm, light blue glow flickered to life, pushing back the darkness. Zoe let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. Now that I'm seeing him up close, he doesn't look that old. And that parted brown hair looks kinda good on him. The boy pressed his hand against his head, still looking dazed. Then, without warning, he turned and started walking away. Zoe tensed. Is there danger? She didn't know why, but she didn't want to be left alone. Panic flared in her chest, and before she could stop herself, she ran after him. The boy walked with purpose, scanning the ground. Wait! Is he looking for something? Zoe slowed her steps, watching as he crouched down. From beneath a pile of fallen branches, he pulled out a hat. He dusted it off and placed it back on his head. Then finally, he turned to look at her. Zoe had been hugging, herself tightly, shivering from head to toe. The boy stared for a moment, then let out a small sigh. He took off his coat and tossed it at her. Zoe flinched, catching it awkwardly. He motioned for her to put it on. She hesitated, then muttered, Thanks, before slipping it over her shoulders. Warm. The coat was thick and heavy, still carrying some of his body heat. She sighed in relief, feeling her body slowly regain warmth. Cook! A deep, embarrassing growl from her stomach, loud enough to trigger a reaction from him. Zoe went stiff. The boy glanced at her. His expression didn't change, but after a second, he crouched down, rummaged through his bag, and pulled out a small loaf of bread. He broke it in half and handed one piece to her. Zoe stared at it. This bread is hard as a rock. She was used to the soft, fresh breads and cakes from convenience stores back home. Sorry roti, bread that didn't break your teeth. But this? This was ancient. How long has he been carrying this around? Still, food was food. Zoe took a hesitant bite. She chewed. Tried to, at least. The bread wouldn't break down. She struggled for a moment before finally turning to the boy and tapping his shoulder. When he looked at her, she held the bread out and shook her head. Tlatsiam. Boy narrowed his eyes, clearly annoyed, but took the bread back and ate it himself without hesitation. Guess it was fine for him. Zoe wiped her mouth, trying to act natural. I'm not picky, okay? This is just impossible to chew. Then the boy stood up again. This time he gestured at her. A simple motion. Follow me. That was Zoe's rough translation of his wave. Zoe waited, but she didn't have another choice. After a few seconds, she exhaled and nodded, She followed. The walk wasn't long, but her legs felt heavy. The cold, the exhaustion, the confusion, it was all starting to wear her down. Then, finally, they arrived. It wasn't a town. It wasn't even a proper village. It looked more like a camp. Scattered tents and wooden structures stood on uneven, broken land. Some had collapsed. Others had torn fabric flapping in the wind. Campfires burned low, and in the dim light, Zoe could see people working to fix the damage. It was clear. An earthquake had hit this place hard. But more important than the wreckage was the crowd, or rather, the creatures. A clothed dog was giving an instruction near a campfire. A pair of cats upright, fur sleek, cloaked, were repairing a torn tarp like it was normal Tuesday stuff. Zoe blinked. Huh? Are those dogs and cats? Walking and talking like humans? Thanks for diving into this story with me. Don't miss out on the next one. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think.